The Ayodhya Kand begins like this. Time moves on in Ayodhya. Dashrath starts to feel that it is time, his body needs some rest. Jiranasyasya sharirasya vishrantim abhirochaye. I feel this body has become old and needs some rest. It's time to retire. And he should hand over the empire. Now, who to hand over to? Clearly, the best person for that is Ram. So, in the first 2 chapters of the Ayodhya Kand, Valmiki describes in great detail why Ram was the most suitable candidate to succeed Dashrath. He talks about a lot of his qualities. Once again, I want to show you a brief clip and then, we'll go ahead with the story.
Sure.
Why Ram? Ram had already demonstrated through his conduct as a prince that he was the most qualified candidate for this role in every respect. Valmiki says, "In archery there is no one who can match him. He is an expert in leading and commanding the troops. Yada vrajati sangramam na vijitya nivartate. Whenever he goes into battle, he never returns without defeating the enemy. He is a great warrior in every way. In fact, the greatest of them all. And though he is overwhelmingly mighty, he is never proud of his strength. On taxation and administration, ayakarmanyupayadnyas sandrashta vyayakarmavit. He knows the right means of generating revenue for the state and the right way of expending the resources. On people skills, in demeanor and speech, he is always pleasant, mrudupurvam. He is ever grateful to those who have done a single good deed, but does not carry the grudge of even 100 offenses. He is highly adept at attracting and retaining the right individuals and in controlling or removing those who create problems. He is most persuasive in debates and discussions, taking people along and not demanding subservience. And with regards to what we call extracurricular activities, Vaiharikanam Shilpanam Vidnyata. He is an expert in the instruments used for entertainment and sport, and is proficient in music too. Ram is always righteous, true to his word, and free from envy. He possesses a sound character with forbearance, gentleness, and a sense of gratitude. He has attained control over his senses.
Maryada Purushottam.
So the essence of Sri Ram out of all of this was that everything that he did was driven by Prajapalana, the welfare of the people, the well-being of all. And he knew that this well-being could only be ensured if society was based on dharma, righteousness, and truth. For many of us, admittedly, self-interest comes first. Then we think of near and dear ones. And sometimes about the broader society, others, and so on, right? So our interests are in our triangular shape with our self-interest on top. For Sri Ram, the priorities were inverted. So everything that he did was concerned Prajapalana, the welfare of everyone. And his own self-interest was simply absent. And remember, this was the ask of Valmiki right in the beginning. When I showed you those shlokas, he had asked, Sarva Bhuteshu Kohita, who is concerned about the welfare of all people? And Ram was like this. So clearly he was the most suitable candidate. And Dashrath considered, him being the Yuvraj. But interestingly, he could not just appoint him Yuvraj. He called for a meeting of a parishad or council to discuss this matter. And it's interesting who all attended this council. So there were other kings, there were citizen representatives of other kings, and also people who resided in the forests and the mountains. Vanashailanta Vasinha. We spoke about the Vanaras last time. Now, just think about it. This is a matter of succession in Ayodhya. And who's discussing this? Other kings and citizen representatives. Very interesting political structure. So Dashrath called this Parishad and told them, I'd like to propose Ram's name. Please consider it. And if you agree, then give me your approval. If you think there is somebody else who is more suitable, please do tell. Because these discussions by the unbiased reveal the right answer. Now there was care had been taken to ensure that people in this council were neutral, madhyastha, that they should not have a conflict of interest. So of course Ram and none of the brothers attended the council. Also, Bharat's grandfather, the king of Kaikeyi, was not invited. King Janak was not invited because they were not neutral, right? So this council, when Dashrath proposed his name, they went and had their discussions. And they came back and told Dashrath that they wholeheartedly supported Ram's name. Dashrath asked them, pretending as though he did not know, Ajananniva. He said, why are you so keen to see him? Am I not doing a good enough job? He wanted to hear why they had chosen him. And the people gave many reasons. But it's interesting what they emphasized. They said, Ramah Satpurusho Loke Satya Satya Parayanaha. In this world, Ram is the very embodiment of Satya, truth. And that is why we want him to be the successor. Because they knew that their welfare would be ensured by somebody who protected righteousness and truth. So Dashrath then called Ram to the palace. He told him, you have won over the people with your virtues and your behavior. Tasmat tvam pushya yogena yauvarajyam avapnuhi. Therefore, tomorrow, in the Pushya Nakshatra refers to certain star positions in the sky. In the Pushya Nakshatra, you shall be crowned Yuvraj. Dashrath also said, I have an uneasy feeling. I want to get this done quickly. So, it is the month of Chaitra. The forests are full of flowers in bloom. Let's get this done tomorrow itself. Now, these three clues, Pushya Nakshatra, month of Chaitra, and forests in bloom, these are the kind of clues that are used by researchers like Nileshok that you mentioned earlier. He will use this to date the events of the Ramayana, among other things.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Moving on.
So Dashrath told Ram that you will be crowned Yuvraj the next day itself. Ram then went to meet his mother Kausalya. Lakshman, Sita and Sumitra were already there. Ram respectfully touched his mother's feet and he said, Pitra Nyuktosmi Prajapalana Karmani. Father has assigned me the responsibility of taking care of the people. Interesting use of words, right? It's responsibility, not privilege, and taking care of the people, not ruling over them. And to Lakshman, Ram said, my brother, we have to do this together. Kausalya blessed Ram, and then Ram and Sita went back to their palace. Guru Vasishtha went and briefed them about what they had to do in preparations for the ceremonies the next day. And as he was returning, Vasishtha saw that Ayodhya had started preparations for the coronation the next day. The air was thick with excitement. People were out and about. The Rajmarg, the royal boulevard, had been sprinkled with fragrant water. Decorations were being put up, flowers and flags on the buildings. People were happy. But one person was not happy. And that was Kaikeyi's maid, Manthara. So Kaikeyi was the Bharat's mother, Dashrath's third wife. Her maid stormed into Kaikeyi's chambers. Manthara went there and said, Uttishta mudhe, get up, you fool. Don't you realize danger surrounds you? Maharaj has decided to crown Ram as the Yuvraj. Now you and Bharat will be left with nothing. That's what Manthara said. Kaikeyi was delighted when she heard this. And she told Manthara, Rameva Bharatevaham Vishesham Nopalakshaye. Ram or Bharat. I don't differentiate between the two. Ram is the most suitable and he's also the eldest. I am so happy to hear that Ram will be crowned Yuvraj. Here, I give you this piece of jewelry for bringing me this wonderful news. So that was the starting point, Kaikeyi's frame of mind when Manthara brought the news. And now just watch, Manthara must have written the playbook on how to poison someone's mind. Because she started at it. She created a division where there was none. Kaikeyi had said Ram or Bharat, I don't differentiate. She started speaking of Ram and Dashrath as one side and Kaikeyi and Bharat as another side, Paksha. So, she was talking about the other. She said that their interests are different from your interest. And like anybody who poisons someone's mind, Manthara also said, look, I only have your best interests at heart. That's why I'm telling you. And she said, can't you see? They are taking you for a ride. And finally, Kaikeyi's mind was poisoned. Or as she saw it, she finally saw the light. And she told Manthara, oh, if you hadn't told me, I would have never realized that they are trying to trick me. Now I must get the kingdom for Bharat. But then she asked Manthara how to go about it. Kena upayena manthare. Manthara reminded Kaikeyi that she had the king wrapped around her little finger. He was infatuated with her. She also reminded Kaikeyi that the king had given her 2 promises. And now was the time to ask against those promises. And Kaikeyi should ask that Bharat should be made Yuvraj, the successor, and Ram be sent off into exile. Kaikeyi liked the idea. And she went into a particular room in the palace, which was called Krodhagar or Krodh Bhavan, the anger room,
This is mentioned.
Yes.
Wow.
So if you want to throw a tantrum, that's where you go. So she went there, took off her jewelry and threw it all on the ground, disheveled her hair and then lay on the ground waiting for Dashrath. Dashrath, after finishing the work at the court, he was charged up. He had a successful day at court and he was looking for an evening of pleasure with his queen. Kama bala sanyukto ratyarthi. So he came in and he was surprised to see Kaikeyi in the Kop Bhavan. And he asked her, what's wrong? What's wrong, my dear? What can I do for you? Kaikeyi said, promise me that you will do as I ask. Only then I will tell you. Dashrath said, I promise by the name of Ram, without whom I cannot live for a moment, that I will do whatever you ask of me. Although this promise was not really required, because Kaikeyi then reminded Dashrath, a long time back in a battle, Kaikeyi had saved Dashrath's life. At that time, Dashrath had told her to ask for 2 boons, had given her 2 boons. Kaikeyi had said, I will ask for them later. And Dashrath had agreed. He had said, Tatha iti. So Kaikeyi was now saying, against those promises, I want to make the asks now. Like I had, mentioned in the last discussion as well, Dashrath had given her 2 blank checks signed up, right? And now she had filled up the amounts and brought them back. And the ask was that Bharat should be made Yuvraj and Ram be sent off into exile in the forest to live as an ascetic for 14 years. The second part was important because Ram was very popular, as we just saw. So Bharat could then consolidate his position as king during that time. Dashrath was stunned when he heard this. First he thought it was a bad dream. And then he went through different waves of emotions. First, incomprehension. He asked Kaikeyi, how can you ask for this? You've always loved Ram. You have never differentiated between the two. Now why are you bent on destroying him? He tried to convince her with facts. He said, look, he's the most suitable. And by the way, the Parishad, the council has chosen. Now, how can I go back to them? But Kaikeyi was unmoved. Dashrath became angry. He said, Nrisham se dushta charitre kulasyasya vinashini. Oh, you vile and wicked woman, you are bent on destroying this family. But again, Kaikeyi knew he could get angry, but he had given the 2 promises. Finally, Dashrath was a broken man. He begged her. He said, have mercy on this old man on the verge of death. Have mercy on Ram. In the end, he touched his head to her feet. Apite charanau murdhna sprishami. Kaikeyi's answer was only this: nothing will make me change my mind. You must do as you have promised.
I would love for you to also give some context on Bharat's character at this point. Because again, from a Western lens, no one knows how the 4 brothers were in terms of character other than Sri Ram and Lakshman.
I can do that, but very soon, in a while when Bharat comes back, okay, we'll see that in detail. But Bharat did not want to have anything to do with this. Actually, he did not want to get the kingdom like this. And he becomes extremely angry with his own mother, Kaikeyi, when he later finds out what she has done.
Okay. We'll come back
Yes,
to that
yes,
original
yes.
point in the timeline.
Yeah.
Please continue, sir.
Dashrath just lay waiting. He was defeated. He was slumped on the ground, and the night went by. When the sun came up, Guru Vasishtha came to call Dashrath. Sumantra, the charioteer, he went inside and he told Dashrath, Maharaj, the preparations are all done. The dignitaries have arrived. Everyone's waiting for you. Dashrath looked up at him with bloodshot eyes and he said, don't torture me with such words. Sumantra was stunned. He looked at Kaikeyi and she said, the king is so excited about Ram's coronation that he hasn't been able to sleep. Dashrath just said, go and get Ram. So Sumantra went to Ram's palace. And then Valmiki describes Ram's palace. It was like Indra's palace, magnificent, opulent. Or like Mount Kailash, he says. Golden statues, diamonds and gems studded in great archways. There were courtyards with deer and peacocks playing around, and great halls full of people bearing gifts, waiting to congratulate Ram. So Sumantra went past all of this into the inner chambers where Ram and Sita were ready for the coronation in their royal attire. And he told Ram that Dashrath and Kaikeyi wanted to see him. This was a bit surprising because he was not being called into the coronation hall. And Ram told Sita, oh, the two must be discussing something about my coronation. My mother, and he's referring to Kaikeyi, by the way, who's his stepmother, but he never used the word stepmother. He always called her mother. My mother always has my best interests at heart. And so she must be urging father to get on with things. I'll go and speak to them. Ram came out of his palace. Valmiki says he came out like a lion comes out of a cave. Regal and majestic. He got onto his chariot. Lakshman was with him. And people started following Ram. It was an procession, an impromptu procession. People on horseback, foot, even on elephants, musicians, singers, dancers. Everyone followed Ram. They blessed him. And then he reached Dashrath and Kaikeyi's palace. He went inside, touched their feet, and Dashrath only said, Ram. And then he choked. He couldn't say anything more. Ram looked up at Kaikeyi, concerned. Is he ill? Have I done something wrong? Has something happened to Bharat? Kaikeyi said, it's a simple matter. He has made 2 promises and now he's trying to wriggle out of it. But that is pointless. And I'll tell you what it is. And then Kaikeyi told Ram about her demands. That Bharat should be made Yuvraj and he has to go into exile. Now pause here for a moment. Ram's life has turned upside down in a moment. He was about to be crowned Yuvraj of the greatest empire in the world. And in one moment, he's left with nothing. Because of no fault of his. And he has been stabbed by someone he calls mother. All of us face difficult situations in life. Things don't turn out the way we would have wanted them to. And we started like this, what is the purpose with which Maharshi Valmiki wrote it? So as we also face these situations, the ideal is Ram's reaction. Let's see how he reacts to this life-changing turn of events. He immediately says, Eva mastu, so be it. Gamishyami vanam radnyah pratidnyam anupalayan. I will go into the forest in order to uphold the king's promise. See, for Ram, Prajapalan, welfare of the people was most important. That could only be ensured if dharma, righteousness, is there in society. And if the king's word cannot be trusted upon, if the king's word is broken, then whose word can be trusted? And so he had to make sure that whatever he did, the king's word is not broken. And even if it meant that for him, it was, in a very unfair way also, he lost everything.
6 years of your life have been dedicated to learning about this epic, studying this epic. My question to you is, if you study a text long enough, you begin to read between the lines a little bit more than the average person who's reading that text for the first time. So the question to you is, what do you actually think Sri Ram felt in this moment?
Between the time that Sri Ram went in, so Valmiki describes how the Ram that went into Dashrath's palace and then the Ram that came out, there is no difference at all. That is the surprising thing. He was calm, radiant, steadfast, life-changing turn of events, and he's able to look at that straight and say, Eva mastu, so be it. And you asked me, when you read the text again and again over a few years, what happens? I must say that, for me also, some of these parts in the first reading, I went past them fairly quickly. And it is only later, or maybe it's also because, we are familiar with some of these stories. We know Ram went into exile. He went into the forest. So when this part comes, yes, Kaikeyi told him, and then he went, okay, you go ahead. But maybe for the first time viewer, they will realize the extraordinary nature of this. From, what he was about to get. I mean, the degree of loss, whether, for us, these matters are maybe a career loss or a not getting into the college that we want to, etc. Right? Various types of things that don't work out. What can be more extreme than this?
Okay, carrying on.
Ram accepted it immediately, and we'll see this again and again. He's always thinking ahead. So his concern was about Dashrath. He must be feeling so terrible for what had happened to him. He consoled Dashrath. He also told Kaikeyi that messengers will be sent immediately to call Bharat. Bharat was not in Ayodhya at that time. He was at his uncle's place, at Kaikeyi's father's place. So he said, there shouldn't be political uncertainty. Bharat will be called immediately. And Kaikeyi said, oh, you seem to be quite keen to go into the forest, so just get on with it. And Dashrath could not bear it anymore. He said, Dik kashtam. Oh, what terrible torture. And, in this entire conversation, he says only 3 words. Ram in the beginning, Dik kashtam in the end. Ram comes out of the palace and his chariot is waiting for him. But he declines the use of that chariot. It was no longer his. It was a privilege of a prince, and now he was going to go into exile. We talk about being unattached to worldly things, right? This is a great example. I mean, the life has turned upside down, and he's accepted it. The chariot is no longer his. Ram goes to meet Kausalya, his mother. Lakshman is with him. Nobody else knows right now what has happened, right? Even Lakshman, because he was not there inside the chambers. So Ram tells Kausalya what has happened. And when she hears it, she collapses to the ground. Valmiki says, like the branch of a sal tree, that is hacked. She just falls down to the earth. Her heart aches so much because of what has happened to her son. But then surprisingly, Lakshman says, it's interesting that so far, Lakshman, we don't know much about Lakshman because although he was there with Ram when he went with Vishwamitra, etc., in terms of actual dialogues, right, Lakshman hasn't spoken much in the Valmiki Ramayana so far. Lakshman says very clearly, I do not think that Ram should go off into exile. He does not agree. Our father, Maharaj Dashrath, has become old and he has frankly lost his mind. So what he is saying need not be followed. It is not dharma, what he is asking. Because what is Ram's mistake in all of this? Which is correct. Ram had done nothing wrong. Why should he go into the forest? Lakshman says, in fact, we should pack them off, Dashrath and Kaikeyi, into the forest on exile. He tells Ram, take control of the empire. Atmastham kuru shasanam, before the word gets out. And if anybody stands against you, I will kill them. Even if our father stands against us, we can imprison him or kill him. Lakshman is boiling with rage. Ram tries to calm him down and he explains why he must uphold the king's word. As to, the unfair nature of this all on Ram himself, Ram says this is all the result of karma. That life has taken a turn like this for him. Lakshman says, cowards hide behind karma. Those who are unable to do anything say that this is all because of karma. But Ram, you are most capable and brave. Why are you becoming philosophical like this? And many times, we tend to agree with Lakshman. Sometimes we think that if everything happens because of what we've done in the past, then why should we do anything? If everything happens because of karma, what's the point in doing anything? But that is an incorrect understanding of karma. So they have a little discussion on karma here. Essentially, I'll break it down in simple words. Karma means every action has a reaction. So good actions have positive outcomes, positive reactions, and bad actions have negative reactions. You are talking of health and fitness, right? You do the right things and your body will be healthy. You eat well, your body will be healthy. So there are good reactions to it. But some of the outcomes are seen immediately and some later on and some even in next lives. So we consider that the Atma goes from one life to another and therefore the impressions or the results of karma carry on as well. So whatever we are facing now is the result of our past actions. But which also means that whatever we do now will affect our future. And therefore, karma is not fatalistic. In fact, it's most action-oriented because it turns the question, why me, into what can I do about it now? Right? You must act. And so both Ram and Lakshman agreed on the importance of action. It's only what action that they disagreed. Lakshman's view was that Ram should take over the empire. And Ram's view was the action should be that the king's word be held true. Kausalya also did not agree with Ram. She said, you are going away because of something that your father said. I am your mother. And I am telling you, do not go. Your dharma is to stay here and rule. And if you still go, I will give up my life. I will stop eating. And my death will be on you. Ram told them repeatedly and very clearly. He said, it is simply not possible for me to do anything but uphold the king's word, which is, I must uphold the king's word. So finally, Kausalya agrees that Ram must go. Her heart is broken, but she blesses him.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.